Hello and welcome to another episode of More Than a Business Live. My name is Mitch Case. I am your host today. I'm also the co-founder of my wife and I's company, More Than a Meal, where we help organizations strengthen their most valued relationships with employees and clients by showing gratitude and appreciation one meal at a time. We're coming to you every single Thursday at 3 p.m. Central Time. So continue to check us out as we bring in more leaders, more executives into this space of truly understanding what makes their business more than a business. Before I introduce our awesome guest today, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, True Captive. They're a healthcare company that believes that healthcare is personal and insurance that should not be complicated. So if you do want to learn more about them and their unique captive healthcare program, just go on over to truecaptive.com, or you can hit me up and I'll get you introduced from that side of things. So thank you so much for continuing to support this show. And yeah, with that, I want to bring in our next guest, Mr. Greg Gilbertsen. We had the honor to quickly get engaged on a random day where calendars cleared, and for whatever reason, we're both available. And what was supposed to be a 15-minute phone call literally turned into an hour and a half later. And we just hit on so many levels. And after learning a little bit more about what Greg has done in his past and now what he's currently doing with his company, which I'll let him tell more about that, I'm excited to bring Greg's insight and value to you guys. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring Greg on the stage. Greg, welcome to the show, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks, Mitch. Thanks for having me. Even though we worked through the sound issues, that's great. I'm glad to be here. But yes, that's certainly true. We hit each other up on LinkedIn right in the same time frame, and we both are extremely busy but productive people. And it turned out that we had a great conversation, a great connection. And thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, you bet. I know just from, our conversation, which went from surface level to very deep, very quick.
Yeah.
And when those conversations just turned from a 15-minute to, all right, this time we actually need to get off the phone, Greg, because we got kids to go pick up from school type scenario.
Yeah.
Those are always conversations that I truly enjoy, and I appreciate it that much. And this is a live show. So technical difficulties happen. We had a little bit last week as well. So it is what it is, and we'll work through that. If you are tuning in live to this right now, though, shoot us a message in the comments. Let us know where you're tuning in from, whether that's LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, anywhere else that you might be tuning in. Let us know where you're listening from. And if you have any questions as Greg and I start diving into conversation, throw them into the comments. I'll pop those up and we can try and get those answered towards the end of the show if we still have time. So with that, Greg, one of the things that I always do is get this started off with like a personal impact story. So I'd love to, let me back up just a little bit. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about what you do within your company so that people kind of have an idea of where you're coming from, and then we'll dive into that impact story.
Yeah, so what I do is I've always historically led in the last couple of years, right? This happened organically. I think a lot of people spend a lot of time on planning, and that was absolutely the opposite of me. Not who I am every day, because we certainly execute great business plans, but I walked into this organically, just using the skills and foundations, both in business and human capital and HR, where I started on the business side in a great corporation that's still spread throughout the United States and thriving today. And inadvertently relocating back to Kansas City, started this ideation around how do I help small businesses. And really, that was really my big focus, not because that's my niche, as we hear about niching down, but what I focus on every single day. And today, I'm packing, I'm actually getting ready to move. And it's been, we mentioned in a little bit of the backstage, the reality of, we're all in business, but life happens. And so with that sentiment, not that I meant to lead it go there, Mitch, is just, for me, the role that I play every single day, and what I play two. One is obviously overseeing the strategy and operations, and it's almost a startup and the constant development of things, as you've experienced and as we got deeper into the conversation. And then, it turns out that I have a really great team and strategic partners, and ultimately, it sounds cliche because we've heard it many, many times before, but you hire people that are smarter than you around you, and your great network of mentors, that sit around you and make sure that you're on the right direction, even if you don't want to hear it, has really helped. And definitely being a small business owner was my niche to help people with HR solutions. And I love human resources. I love the company I'm working with now. I love the clients that we have worked with in the past and everything we have coming. So that's how
Yes.
I got started. And I play that leader role, but everyone on my team is a leader. We're all playing a strategy and an independent contributor role. And I don't even talk about it like that. I think it's more of we all work together. And you have good days and bad days, but tomorrow's always another day. As one of my mentors has taught me, it's like, how's your day going? Could be really bad, but you just say, it's perfect.
Yeah. Well, I just
It's
like the
perfect when
insight.
I'm
Like
comfortable.
you have another chance at this tomorrow. And just because one day is tough doesn't mean it needs to lag into the next day as well.
Yeah.
So, well, let's jump into that impact story. I always like to ask each of our guests, what's an impact story, whether you directly or your company directly has impacted a team member, or like in your case, it might be a client or like a community member from that side of things. So why don't you dive into like a personal story from that side that we can kind of hear a little bit of what you've done.
Yeah, there's, and not just the Gilbertsen group, but HR and business. When you're a business of HR, which is not traditional inside of our company, right? Or companies that we work in, or firms, or traditional corporate America, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But I like to walk away. We all walk into work with a to-do list, and I talk to my team about this all the time. Is we all have this large to-do list, especially being a smaller company, as all small businesses have. And we're here to provide solutions for small business and outsourcing, and as opposed to hiring things that don't generate revenue right away, but you still need that support and protection, not from HR necessarily, but PR, marketing, all of the different facets that fall underneath the Gilbertsen group.
Mm-hmm.
But I think more importantly, we all have that to-do list. I think mine's up to like 47 bullets, and I marked 2 things down when I woke up this morning just to feel good and get that dopamine drip. But to your question and to your point, is if the really the to-do list every single day at the Gilbertsen Group is if we can just help one person as our to-do item, then we've won for the day. And what I mean by help is not give them a policy. That's not helpful. Not give them a standard operating procedure, but one that makes a statement. Recently, there were so many stories coming in over the holiday. I think it needs to be publicly aware that this is a trying time, not because we see all the data from our partners and what we see in the workforce, but the holidays bring out so much gratitude, so much of those positive things. But I think it's real that we call it what it is, because we see it. And this holiday season has been jarring for some people. So I had a employee of a company who I happen to be working on Thanksgiving. We don't sleep. No, I'm kidding. We certainly do. But we're always available.
Greg is a vampire.
Yeah. My team is always available 24/7, and certainly I try to be, but that's just not possible.
Yeah.
So the reality is that this poor employee of one of our clients called in, and we were supporting the clients because they were giving HR off for the holiday, which is great. We love that. And this team member was happened to be behind on her electrical bill for 2 months. It's the day of Thanksgiving, and her power went out.
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
And we know how easy it is to call the power company, right? And get that turned back on in 24 hours, and you have family 3 hours out from your house, and you've been on the struggle, and you were really trying to do the right thing, and you were working. And that's really important. So we were able to step right in with direct relationships and get her power turned on back on immediately, subsidize that bill in one of our grants that we partner with, and get that power turned back on, and no harm, no foul. And I was able to advance her payroll to her to make sure that we support her. So in traditional fashion, human resources won't break policy, but sometimes unorthodox situations call for unorthodox execution, just to make sure that she knew, hey, this is all going to be kept confidential, and we're going to help you. I'm so you're putting your best foot forward, and somebody shouldn't be kicking you while you're down. Let us take care of this for you.
Dude, that is really so impacted. Like, yeah, I mean, that's just like the human side of it. Like, there are so many things that people are going through that you'll never even recognize or see, or that they even want you to see. And the fact that, you're in a position to truly help and go above and beyond, which, like, obviously, like within the name of the show, more than a business, like, it's people over profit all day, every day. And, you were able to implement that within an organization. And, I don't know what company that is, not necessary to know, but, that's only going to increase the loyalty that person is going to feel towards the organization, because it wasn't, hey, where you at? It's time to get to work. It's, it's your day off, your power goes out, and not only are we going to let you keep your day off, we're going to, get this done right so that you don't have to worry about that. Because, I mean, how much of, you're going to get on a soapbox here, but just from
No,
the mental
for
capacity
real.
with all this challenges that people face that is behind is just so, it's going to bring you down from your efficiency perspective in the workplace. It's going to, like, you're going to
100%.
zone out. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
100%. And I think that it's important for people to think about all those intangibles or not
Yeah.
directly related to a P&L on the bottom of it. What's the value
Love that.
of that one moment? And that happened to me in my career several times where
Mm.
somebody reached in greater positions than what I was, and changed my life, and
Wow.
that even when I was job searching and looking proactively for a new role, somehow the day before I was going to resign, that moment changed, and I was with the company for 8 more years because of that one moment.
Wow.
And that one moment in time helped me help others because that's
Mhm.
what triggered my thought process, and the way we all grow up and those different things that all play into it. But
Yeah. Yeah.
in that setting, it's of course, we help anyone that reaches out by giving them the best strategy, and that's what it is, a strategy. It's not you should do this, you need to do this. It's I'm going to take care of this for the company because at the end of the day, you've been here quite some time. It doesn't really matter. I just want you to get to Thanksgiving, and I'll take
Yeah.
care of the
Yeah.
rest.
Well, I mean, that is going to easily transition into our next piece of
We didn't even plan it,
this
y'all.
show. We were working through technical difficulties first.
Yeah.
So the next portion I always kind of ask is, what truly makes your company more than a business? And whether you want to talk more about, Gilbertsen Group itself or the clients that you're able to work with and help implement some of these things. Like obviously the impact story that you just talked about goes to show like already some of the things that you're doing that makes it more than a business, but maybe dive into some different strategies, or as you continue to grow, your business continues to grow, like some of the things that you're looking at that will continue to show that it is truly more than a business.
Yeah, thanks. Great question. I think that since it started so organically, from posting my green banner on LinkedIn to then becoming a business, and the green
Open to
banner,
work.
yeah, I think it's like 50% of LinkedIn. I'm reading all kinds of stats, and 92% of them could be made up, give or take
Yeah.
5%. But
Fair,
I'm
fair.
reading all kinds of stats on LinkedIn that says the green banner's bad this day and it's good this day. It's like, okay, let's help people just get connected to employment opportunities and put
Amen.
that stuff aside. But at the Gilbertson Group, it traditionally started like that. Getting into career strategy, helping people through the Great Resignation, the Great Revaluation, and really
Quiet quitting, all of them.
coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah, really coaching people and coaching people and individuals, pulling out the best parts of themselves where there's so much of that imposter syndrome where I just
Mm,
don't of course we all have it, but I like to wake
right.
up. I'm a realist with a little hint of optimism, right? I have a lot of optimism when I'm speaking with people, but I'm also a realist where it's like, let me meet people for where they're at and figure out how to help people. And where I can is my lane of career choice, career strategy. And oh my gosh, I don't think I'm good enough to jump industries. Yes, you are. It's our job
Ah,
to pull out those strengths. And a lot of people, believe it or not, and through my own stumbling, and you have to go through, I believe this firmly, is that you have to go through challenges to really be able to come out of adversity and be able to teach people. And, some people call it triggers trauma, workplace
yeah.
PTSD. I hear all kinds of things. But at the end of the day, I think that you have to walk a little bit. I think everyone's still looking at times because of the times in our world for a get rich quick scheme. That just isn't out there. And
Yeah.
so, but what I love about the people we work with, clients, individual professionals, no matter how they're engaging with us on the HR business, and then I'll talk about what we have coming next, is they are people that we are naturally drawn to as a business to help
Mm,
because they're working, they're taking the right steps, but we're here to not kick somebody while they're down and keep things confidential on the career professional side. And
yeah.
we develop without AI, y'all. We develop, by hand. We write those resumes. We bring out people's strengths. We listen to their stories. We listen to how aggressively a company may have laid them off. And it's not that those things are compartmentalized on our team. It's actually every story has its unique feel because we're human. We're going to feel it. And when that connection happens, it's like, okay, we're going to help you through the next stage. Then we developed into a robust HR solutions company. Really quickly, we started with career professionals, and some of the career professionals we started working with even 2 years ago are now owning their own business and coming back and saying, "Hey,
Wow.
we need HR support." What? All right, I love that. See,
Yeah.
last time I talked to you 2 years ago, you were really in a bad situation, but we didn't
Yeah.
remind you of the bad situation you're in. We helped you move through it, get unstuck, and break through that inertia. So that's
Amen.
what I really studied and started with. And then I actually started I'm just bored. So when I'm bored, I have idle hands, and not getting bored with the work, but getting bored with the monotony of it, right? Like not getting bored of the impact, but the monotony of the
Yeah,
work.
for sure.
And so I was like, well, I got to keep myself engaged here. I mean, what are we going to do? Not what are we going to do because of economic wins or headwinds. It's what are we going to do? So then I started with my connections. I started forming what, I think we all call an ecosystem is okay. So HR support, but I'm really doing a lot more than that. And when I say HR support, it's helping them, small business owners and professionals, and working. And then I started like, okay, but I have a lot of friends, and I've dabbled in the public relations industry, and a lot of small business owners need rise in marketing, and they're obsessed with SEO and Google reviews and all these different things. And I was like, okay, and a fancy website with all the bells and whistles, and
Yeah.
what do you really need to be successful in business? It actually comes down to you. And then I
Hmm.
started getting like, what if I could get this? The average person, I hated that stat where it was like 87% of new businesses fail within the first year. I don't accept it. And the reason I don't accept it is because if you're an active participant in a dialogue with us, we will not let you fail. We're going to offer
Mm.
bells and whistle solutions and marketing and public relations with direct access to syndications like Forbes, ABC. I know it doesn't look like it in my background, but this isn't a filter, by the way. This is my real
Is it?
location. But
Yes.
I started with that. And then we have business solutions, which is those two areas, PR, marketing, and business solutions, where my team creates logos, websites. We have an awesome graphic designer we partner with, and we
Mm.
literally have helped people, even through these mechanisms. They're not published, but they're coming out in the next week. We literally help people. For example, a personal trainer came to us, and they had recently left their employer, and they wanted to go online, and that was great. I come from the health and wellness and fitness industry, and I
Yeah.
absolutely love helping anybody inside of that space because it's organic for me.
Mm.
But how do we go from $0 and a maybe $150 budget to making your dreams come true? And that's what we really fall into. It's like, hey, Greg, I really want Disneyland, but I can only afford Jurassic Park. And I'm like, it's really not about the money for us. It's about
Oh,
making
I like it.
sure those dreams can come true. But your deal with us, you have to bring 50%. You have to bring an active participant in wanting to solve your business challenge. But we're going to bring all those tools. So that's where it manifested in. So we are really focused in on public relations, helping our clients. If it's reputation management, I think people think of PR as like recovering your brand when TMZ comes out. Sure, that's called reactive PR, but ORM management, helping those bad reviews come down if you took over a business that was maybe being right sized right now,
Yeah.
or placing inside of those mechanisms, and then building beautiful, it's not me, it's the people that are work around me, but building beautiful brands and websites. And I love that I get to go around Kansas City and see different businesses open up now. And I say, I had a little bit of it to do with that.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that. So one of the things I enjoyed the most when I was in construction was watching a project go from a plot of land to a finished building. And I think that's what I truly enjoyed most about my work was seeing something from nothing to being proud of, my input on this project and what that's going to do. And, I get a lot of joy as I've been building more than a meal. I get the joy of building nothing to something. And I see as you're kind of talking, you get to see that. And like, not that you're like gonna put your feather in your hat on each of these
Yeah.
types of things, but you played a little bit of part. And as any entrepreneur out there, like we don't start our business with this um overarching like never ending goal type of thing. Like this is where we want to get to. And ultimately that might not be hundreds of millions of dollars. That might be breaking me free so I can be more present with my family. And the fact that you can have an input to be able to be a part of that is definitely something to be proud of. And just from our interactions before, like it's very evident from first conversation to now, through and through, like your heart is in every single individual that you encounter. So I try to get some of your juju through this screen here right now for sure. You know, when you were kind of talking about, not accepting the failure rate of 87% of businesses, like I too, like run around with that mentality. And sometimes I sit there and wonder if I'm like crazy because I just refuse to accept that. But data continues to show that that's the case. And I know there's probably certain outliers that doesn't make sense. And maybe it's certain things, like all of that plays into account. But I've talked to enough entrepreneurs now that it's like, you don't give up, keep going, doing the right things, and continuously doing that. You'll have somebody come over here and just ask you the question like, well, how did you get rich quick from that side of things? Like, well, I busted my butt for 10 years and now I'm an overnight success.
Yeah.
So,
100%.
there is just that mentality of, even when those are tough days, or like the monotonous of doing the same thing over and over again, I too have to find certain things some days like get me reinvigorated, because doing the same thing over and over, as though it's my business, it can get exhausting and tiring at times. But finding those things that just motivate you to get through there and get through those stages to reach the end goal, whether that's time, money, family, whatever that goal is, whatever your definition of success is through that. So yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because I too am a huge advocate of that statistic is BS.
Yeah, and nobody really, I know we're more than a business and talking on those theme lines. There's two things I've always believed, and outside of rejecting the statistic, is that no one wakes up in the morning and says, I can't wait to go to work today and be really bad at what I do. I cannot wait. I am so excited for the day. I'm going to go to work and be really bad at it. No, that thought process doesn't happen. It doesn't make sense. That's not the case. But what happens between that person's thought process and the time they enter work, whether that's virtually or, in person? And the reality is that it usually comes down to leadership and management. And, we see those stats, but that's the reality. So no one wakes up like that. And then the second thing I always believe in is helping people and guiding them. I want to be very clear on what helping is. It's guiding, guiding along, and not always reaching in and fixing things. But, I think it's important for the second point that I was making is people know that there's very rarely, in conjunction to that statistic, where people jump in with boatloads of money to start a company. That is just not heard of right now. But and if it is, congratulations, you probably had some, and it doesn't matter if you have a good idea or you got inherited money and you're starting a company. I think it's important that we know that people just don't become overnight successes. You said 10 years. I worked for a company who I loved. I was there from when I was 19 until recently 2 years ago. And I resigned, to come back home to Kansas City because I have a beautiful 2-year-old daughter, an amazing wife. And that's just where our support system was. And I'm from St. Louis. So that's what catapulted my change as a dad. And I always wanted to be present and be a great father. And when I could ground myself in husband, and when I can ground myself in those two things and know that I don't wake up in the morning and say, I can't wait to do really bad at my job today. And that's really the thought process. I think that more people would be willing to take a jump as opposed to just seeing the statistic of failure. Well, what about the statistic of success?
Yes.
What if we can focus on that as opposed to, oh, these people fail? Well, maybe, but maybe they weren't successful for things outside of their control. And that's what we're here to do, is to put it back in your control and give you a voice to a voiceless professional and turn that pain into power real quick.
Man, I love that. That we're gonna stop with that, because I think that's such a good way to end this as we near the end of the show here. I'm going to give a shout out to Natalie. She commented that she finds a lot of rewarding work, in that. So thanks for tuning in, Natalie. Man, we're going to be humming right to the end of this, because I'm so appreciative of you taking the time. One of the things that we do is actually allow the guests to send a meal out to somebody that they think is deserving of a meal, whether that's somebody just in need or somebody to celebrate. So if you have anybody in mind that you want to shoot a meal over to, we'll get you connected afterwards. But do you have anybody in mind you want to give a reason why?
Not without breaking confidentiality.
Hey, all right.
To be helping someone.
I love it. We'll get connected afterwards to make sure that happens. If anybody just kind of resonated with what you were talking about, or want to potentially ask some questions about potential work with you, Greg, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, the best way is by giving us a call at 952-228-4734, or by sending us an email at hrsolutions@Gilbertsen, Gilbertsen, Gilbertsengroup.com.
Awesome. And if anybody has any challenges with that, just shoot me a message and I'll make sure to get you connected with Greg as well. So we'll come back to you next Thursday at 3 p.m. Central Time. Greg, thank you so much again for joining us. And we'll be back next week, guys. Take care.
See you guys.